Hello, welcome to our part one of our benchmarking tutorial for the City of Detroit. And this episode is going to focus on Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So quickly to go over what we'll be talking about in this episode, we're going to start with some introductions of the organizations and folks that will be presenting in this series. And then we'll go into why we do benchmarking, what the City of Detroit's benchmarking policy looks like. And then we'll dive into what is Energy Star and Portfolio Manager and give a quick tutorial on how to set up your Energy Star Portfolio Manager account, add your building profiles, get your building ID, and lastly, how to share portfolio and your data with the city. We'll start with some quick introductions. My name is Emma Herbanis, and I'm with the Midwest Energy Efficiency Alliance on the Building Codes and Policy team.
My name is Zahra Sublini. I'm with the City of Detroit. I'm the Senior Energy Analyst.
And my name is Kendall Kuhneman, and I'm the Executive Director of the Detroit 2030 District.
First off, a little more about the Midwest Energy Efficiency Alliance, or MIA, which is one of the organizations helping to put these together and support the ordinance. We are one of the regional energy efficiency organizations across the country, and we get to work in the Midwest. We have a 13-state region. We do different initiatives to promote energy efficiency first, and we are a membership organization with more than 170 members across 5 sectors. On our buildings team, we work to support different policies, initiatives, and programs like benchmarking.
The City of Detroit's Office of Sustainability is headed by our director, Tafira Rushton, and we have 4 divisions of our work under sustainability. The first is clean energy, the second is climate resilience, the third is energy efficiency, with the benchmarking ordinance falling into that category, and the fourth is urban agriculture.
And I wanted to share a little bit about the Detroit 2030 District. We are a nonprofit organization that works with building owners and managers in the city of Detroit, commercial and multifamily buildings, to help them reduce their carbon emissions from their buildings and transportation. We are also part of a national network, which is a private-public partnership. And we currently have over 67 million square feet in Detroit alone, and 24 districts across the US.
So firstly, a little more about benchmarking and why it's important. We like to say benchmarking matters because you can't manage what you don't measure. Benchmarking measures your energy use in your building, and it is proven that consistent benchmarking in buildings results in energy savings and improved performance. As you can see by these charts, over 4 years, it's found to have about 7% savings and a 6-point increase in an Energy Star score, which we'll talk more about later. So this information can be really helpful to your building because it can give you different insights and help you to make better decisions and investments into your properties. Additionally, it helps you to understand if your building is already doing things really well, and this can help you add financial value and to promote your building accurately. We also like to say benchmarking is kind of like a Fitbit because it'll show you how your building is performing, and consciously and unconsciously, you might improve that building performance over time. Another reason to benchmark is because a lot of cities have shown that it is a good decision within their city. And so throughout our region, we already have lots of other municipalities that are benchmarking along with Detroit.
Detroit's benchmarking ordinance was passed in November of 2023, and it applies to all building types. So that means commercial, multifamily, industrial buildings, among other types. The first buildings that were required to report were buildings that were above 100,000 square feet. The first year reporting due date has passed. That was October 1st of 2024. And the data required for those buildings was 2023 calendar year data. The second phase of buildings is buildings above 25,000 square feet. Those buildings are required to report their data by June 1st of 2025, and that is for the 2024 calendar year of data. The City of Detroit Climate Strategy was published along with the ordinance in 2023. It highlights four strategies that the city is using to address climate change. The first is transitioning to clean energy. The second is increasing sustainable mobility. The third is accelerating energy efficiency and reducing waste. And the fourth is prioritizing vulnerable residents and increasing resilience. The purpose of this ordinance is to reach the greenhouse gas emission goals set forth by the city. Buildings are the greatest producer of greenhouse gas emissions in Detroit. The building sector accounts for 62% of greenhouse gas emissions, according to a 2018 study. Benchmarking helps us to manage and reduce energy and water usage, thus allowing us to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We have put together a lot of resources for building owners to comply. If you have a question, you can reach out to our help desk or our email address, benchmarking@Detroitmi.gov, or you can schedule half an hour office hours with the City of Detroit's Office of Sustainability at the link in the bio.
Great. Now we're going to get into what is Energy Star and how to use Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So you might recognize this Energy Star label. Energy Star as a program was created by the Environmental Protection Agency in 1992. They provide different resources and tools for a lot of different sectors to improve their energy use. They establish things like standards, and which you might recognize from a label on your refrigerator or other appliances. And they also have other programs like Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So this is a free online tool, again, through the EPA, that helps building managers to access their energy, water, and waste or materials consumption, track changes over time, and if eligible, get an Energy Star score. Energy Star Portfolio Manager is helpful in a couple different ways. Like we mentioned, it measures those energy, water, and waste performances over time. You can set improvement goals to reduce your usage, and you're also able to share and report your performance to others, like the city, and also lets you certify with that Energy Star score. So now we're going to get into actually how to set up your account and your buildings on this platform. There are a few steps. It might look like a lot, but it's really not too much. We're going to go through how to create your personal account, how to create a building profile, how to enter your utility data, how to share the data, and how to run quality check reports. First of all, feel free to pause and do this as you go along with this tutorial, or watch it all the way through and complete it on your own. So Energy Star Portfolio Manager is simply a publicly available website. So if you don't yet have an account, you can just Google Energy Star Portfolio Manager, click on the website, and a page like this should appear once you click into create an account. A note here that's highlighted on the right about selecting a username is that if you're representing an organization or a company who you're benchmarking on behalf of, you might not want to put in something like your personal name as your username because you cannot change that username. However, you can share the account with different users. So create something, a username that represents your organization, and then you can put your personal information in the About Yourself categories. Once you're all logged in and set up to Portfolio Manager, you're going to see this as the home screen. It's going to have those 4 portfolio level tabs at the top, and we're going to talk about what you need to do in each of them. So starting with this My Portfolio tab all the way on the left, you're going to see that it might not have much in it right now, and that's because you don't have any properties added. So where this red circle is highlighting, you can go to Add a Property, and at this point, you're going to want to have some of that building information readily available. So it's going to start with some pretty general information, like selecting the property type. Energy Star Portfolio Manager has lots of different property types to choose from. We're going to encourage you to only choose the primary property type here. It's in your best interest to keep the number of property types as low as possible. So they suggest that just start with the one that is more than 50% of that property's purpose. So as you can see here, you might have a worship facility with a small a room that's considered a daycare. You can just select worship facility for this primary type. This is going to be some of the next questions. Here you can simply click for your property's buildings. One, my property is a single building, and then you're going to select my existing building because this is a building that already exists. And then go ahead and click Get Started. That's going to bring you to some of this more specific information about your building, although we're still at some of that pretty general information. So here you're just going to add some characteristics like the building name. Again, if this is going to be shared through a company or an organization, name it something that anyone would recognize as this building, or simply the building address as the name. Then you're going to do gross floor area. This is important as it's required to gather a proper read on the energy use and efficiency of your building. So your gross floor area includes all the square footage inside the walls of a property, which is not just the rentable or leasable square footage, because that does not include oftentimes things like common rooms or hallways, areas like that. But you also want to exclude outdoor things like surface parking lots, balconies, rooftops, things like that we're not going to include here. We suggest that you can go back to get your gross floor area through initial building drawings, blueprints, avenues like that, which will be more accurate to have that correct gross floor area. Once you go through that, this section at the bottom, which says, do any of these apply? Review those options and select if any of those apply to you. As this slide says, parking is a commonly selected option if it has on-site parking, which is like that surface lot or garage. Do not factor that into the total gross floor area because that will be calculated separately. Alrighty, so this gets into some of the other data that Portfolio Manager will request. Just a note here, this says the following information is required to get an Energy Star score. That is a score that will rank the efficiency of your building. The outcome of that score does not impact your cooperation with the ordinance, and you do not have to get a certain score for your building. It just informs the energy use for your knowledge. So here you're going to enter things like the number of living units or the number of bedrooms. We're just going to go over a couple common property use types and some of the other data that those might request. For example, this is an office. It's going to request things like the number of weekly operating hours, the number of workers on the main shift, the number of computers. This is all trying to get at how much energy is being used in the building. If you want to provide a informed estimate, that works. It does not have to be exact, but getting it. If you want to enter that in to get the Energy Star score, having a good idea of what those numbers are. This is an example of a worship facility. This is going to include things like seating capacity, that gross floor area that is specifically used for food preparation, percentage that is heated or cooled, And then at the bottom, again, you're going to see some of that optional information. This is just because this will also keep track of this year to year to have a better idea for you to keep track of, but it is not required. Here's an example for a K-12 school. Some of the things that are different here are that weekend operation or cooking facilities. For a museum, again, it's just going to have that gross floor area as required, but some of those optional metrics. One thing that comes up for something like this is how to find the number of occupants. So an occupant is going to be anyone that enters, but that can be averaged out over a day, month, or year to get a better idea of how many people are actually in the space. So just an overview for industrial. Since this is a different type of building and there are many different types of manufacturing or industrial plants, this does have a required use detail for the plant type and plant subtype. So this has a separate tool from Portfolio Manager for that Energy Star certification. The link is here. And will also be in the description for how to use those energy performance indicators to receive Energy Star score for this type of building. And as you can see below, these are some of the plant types that are eligible for that certification. Again, here's just some of the data required. That gross floor area is going to be required, and those operating hours, workers, and computers will be optional. Okay, so if we remember back to that other screen where you clicked those that said, do any of these apply? If you clicked parking, for example, this will pop up on the next screen. So here, you can read through some of the detailed instructions once you get to this page, but this is basically getting at the area or square feet of either an open parking lot size, that partially enclosed parking garage, or a completely enclosed parking garage. And then you can put that current date as the construction date. So like we talked about, you're going to have that primary use type of the building. Like I said, you're going to try to enter as few property uses as possible. But if there's a secondary use type that has more than 25% of that gross floor area, or it has significantly different operating hours, you can add it in as a secondary use type. These are things like gym, community rooms, or retail areas in some of these larger buildings, but those do not need to be broken out and should be just included in that primary use type.
One of the required parts of your building profile will be adding your Detroit building ID to each property that you have a profile for. To find your building ID, you will go to the lookup tool. You can find that on the website, or you can scan this code, or you can look at the description for the link to the building ID lookup tool. Once you find that, you will add your building ID to your building's Energy Star Portfolio Manager profile under standard IDs. If you need help finding your building ID, you can click this Need Help button at the bottom of the search page. The next step to compliance is connecting your Energy Star Portfolio Manager profile to the city. You can navigate to the sharing tab. You can see that in the bottom corner of my screen, and click share with your utility or service provider for exchanging data. Then you can look up the City of Detroit's Detroit Benchmarking Reporting profile and connect to them, an Energy Star Portfolio Manager, and then select the buildings and meters that you would like to share. This video is part of a series of benchmarking tutorials. We went through the first one, which is Energy Star Portfolio Manager profile. The next video will be accessing energy and water data. You can click the link in the description to go to that one. And the third video will be entering data into Energy Star.
One-on-one help is available with compliance. The Office of Sustainability at the City of Detroit does offer free 30-minute bookings to get support, and you can do that by clicking on the link on the slide. The Detroit 2030 district can offer free support as well through a grant to a targeted group of buildings, which include nonprofits, houses of worship, childcare centers, and affordable multifamily buildings. Those building types can receive free one-on-one technical assistance. And then lastly, for any other buildings that are required to comply and need support, the Detroit 2030 district does offer a paid premium membership for those buildings that need additional technical assistance, and the cost is $500 per building. The Detroit Energy Challenge is an annual friendly competition that's held each year in June. For any building that's interested in participating in this year's challenge, energy data must be entered into Energy Star Portfolio Manager by March 5th of this year. The Detroit Energy Challenge is an extension of the statewide competition called Michigan Battle of the Buildings. Any commercial, industrial, and multifamily building can join and participate. If you have completed any energy efficiency projects at your building, there may be an opportunity that you get selected for an award and recognized. There's no cost to participate.
We have some upcoming events that will be following this series of webinars. Notably, we have the Benchmarking Data Jams, which will be in-person workshops, which you can come and get hands-on assistance to help set up those portfolio manager accounts, enter your building data, and share your portfolios with the city. So after this tutorial and after watching the next two, if you're still not exactly sure how to be in compliance with the policy, this is a perfect time to come and just bring your laptop, your building info, and 1 year of utility water data. So we're going to have you watch these preparatory workshops beforehand, and then in mid to late April and early May, before that reporting deadline, come join us to get all that info put in, and you can leave being in compliance with the policy. More information on this will be available in the description below with the links to sign up. We also have some links that will also be included in the description if you need more information. These have important things like data collection worksheets for different use types, some of those glossary terms, which will tell you more about Portfolio Manager and other tools and resources. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to any of us that have been presenting at these contact informations or the Energy Star website.